Hi folks, HR Funk here, and I want to give you a review on my brand new pistol. I just bought this about 2 or 3 days ago, and that is a Smith&Wesson M&P Shield. This is the 9mm version of the Shield. It also comes in 40 Smith&Wesson. Now if you search YouTube, you're going to find about 10,000 videos on the Shield that are going to explain every single feature, function, characteristic, and attribute that you can think of when it comes to the Shield. So I'm not going to spend my time on the video again enumerating each one of those. What I'm going to do instead is give you my impressions of those different features, attributes, etc. And we're also going to go out to the range here and do a little bit of shooting with it. And by the time we're done, I hope to be able to tell you specifically what I think of this pistol and whether or not I think it's going to be a good firearm for defensive applications. Before I start to talk about the Shield itself, I think I should probably talk a little bit about how I came to selecting and purchasing the Shield. Back in 1999, when my police department was still carrying 5900 series Smith&Wesson pistols, 9mm pistols, I picked a Smith&Wesson CS9 as an off-duty and backup pistol. This particular pistol, I should do a review on this someday. They stopped making these back around 2002, 2003, something like that. This has been a phenomenal pistol. I would not even be thinking about a new pistol were it not for the fact that for about the last 7 years I've been carrying a full-size Smith&Wesson M&P pistol as a duty pistol. Over the course of that 7 years, I've gotten spoiled by that consistent trigger pull on the M&P. I really like having the same pull for each and every shot, which is the only downside to the CS9, which is really not a criticism. That was the design of this pistol. That's what I purchased. But with this one, it has the traditional double action trigger pull, where the first shot is a double action pull, and each shot after that is single action. So you have to transition between the first trigger pull and then each successive trigger pull that you have when you're firing this pistol. It also has a manual safety /decocker mounted to the slide that you have to be cognizant of and you have to be able to manipulate properly in order to operate the pistol. When we compare the Shield with the CS9, we see they are very similar in size. It's hard for me to operate the camera and hold these side by side, but the overall length and the overall height is very similar. The Shield comes with both a 7-round magazine and an 8-round magazine. The 8-round magazine is actually inside the pistol right now, and it is almost exactly the same height as the CS9 when I hold the two together. The Shield also is very similar in overall length and height to the M&P Compact that I have here. The difference that you have between the Compact and the Shield is in the width. And when you look at the Shield, you can see it is very thin overall. And when I compare that to the M&P Compact, it's pretty easy to see that the M&P Compact is thicker than the Shield. The Shield is also lighter than the Compact. I believe the M&P Compact empty weighs in at something like 22 ounces, and the Shield, back down here, is a 19.5 ounce pistol. So it's a little bit lighter than the Compact, and it's a little bit thinner. Now that comes at a cost, because the M&P Compact, this is a 40 Smith&Wesson, has a 10-shot magazine, double stack magazine, whereas the Shield has a single stack. It has the 8-round 9mm magazine in there now, and it has a 7-round magazine that comes with it as well. The 9mm variety of the Compact, I believe, is a 12-shot magazine. So again, you're giving up about 4 rounds of capacity when we compare apples to apples, or 9mm to 9mm, between the Shield and the M&P Compact, the 9mm version of the M&P Compact. When we go up to the full-size M&P that I carry every day at work, we can see that the Shield is significantly shorter. I'll try to lay it right on top there. And if I can line them up just right, it is a little bit shorter, not much, but it is, not quite as high, but it's significantly shorter. Looks to be a good inch shorter than the full-size M&P. And again, the full-size M&P is just as wide as the M&P Compact, whereas the Shield, and this is the real selling point of the Shield, it is an extremely thin firearm, and again, it's several ounces lighter even than the M&P Compact. So for the purposes of keeping everything the same, particularly in a high stretch situation, I wanted to have the same trigger system, the same operating system, the same firearm manipulation across the board, from my duty weapon all the way down to my off-duty and backup firearm. Which is why I started looking at the Shield very closely. Now, I've been evaluating the Shield, looking at them, picking them up in gun stores, handling them for probably at least a year, maybe longer. I wanted to make sure when I purchased this that I was comfortable with my decision. The only thing that caught my attention between the time I first started looking at the Shield and when I purchased it just a few days ago was the Remington R51. When I saw that, I thought it had some interesting characteristics of its own. It has a single action trigger with a long take-up, which is somewhat similar to the trigger on the M&P, at least as far as the way it feels. But what I've seen since that was introduced to SHOT Show is a lot of negative reviews. What I finally decided was I was going to go with something I was familiar with. I'm an armorer for the M&P series pistols, so I thought rather than look at something completely different, I'm going to stick with what I know. So I stuck with the Shield, and again, about 3 days ago, I purchased this pistol at Vance's Law Enforcement down in Columbus, Ohio. By the way, if any of you police officers out there are looking for a Shield, or you're looking to buy one, and you live in or near Columbus, Ohio, get a hold of Vance's. They have a really good price going on these, and they're good people to deal with. So that's my plug for Vance's in Columbus. As far as the Shield itself, again, there's been a lot of videos that have talked about all the different features and attributes. What I've noticed as I've been handling it, and I've not fired it yet, but I notice the grip feels very good to me. It feels narrow, and again, I'm used to the M&P series with the double stack magazine, and I also have the largest grip insert in my full-size M&P. I just like having a good, large grip to get a hold of. With the Shield, you do not have interchangeable grip inserts to change the size of the grip. So it's a one-size-fits-all type of a concept. And I do notice the difference in the feel. It doesn't feel bad, it just feels different than the full-size guns. Now the Shield, unlike the full-size M&P and the M&P Compact, has a manual safety at the rear of the frame right here. This is something that I'm not real crazy about, and I've heard a lot of other reviewers talk about that, and they're not real crazy about it either. I think I know why Smith&Wesson included that on the Shield. For a small concealed carry firearm that might go in pockets or purses or whatever, they probably felt that was a good feature to add. For me, I wish they would offer it with and without the safety. I think that would be the easiest way to go about it. But currently, if you want a Shield, it comes with the safety. I don't intend to use it. I will load the Shield and carry it just like I do my full-size M&P, so that I don't have to worry about drawing and then manipulating a safety before I can put the Shield into action. Another thing I've noticed about the Shield is the trigger. The trigger pull on the Shield is noticeably, let me double check here, noticeably heavier than the full-size M&P or the M&P Compact. I think it's one, it may smooth out a little bit over time, and as I recall, the M&P Compact, when I got it, the trigger felt heavier than it does now. Now it has a very nice clean break. So we'll see how that goes with the Shield, but at least for now, I notice the trigger feels a little bit on the heavy side. Now, I have handled Shields in the past when I talked about in gun stores where I would be handling them and trying the trigger that had lighter triggers than this one. So I may have just gotten one with a heavy trigger. One thing I've heard a lot of reviewers talk about is this little collar that is on the magazine. This is the 8-round magazine, and the potential for it to slide and potentially cause problems during reloading. This thing, you can slide it, but it's not very easy. I don't know how much of a concern that is. I will probably carry this with the 8-round magazine inserted and carry the 7-round magazine as a spare, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a worry in that regard for me. But that is something that's been noted. If you get a shield, be aware of that. I think it's something Smith&Wesson could have probably changed in the design pretty easily and just done away with this altogether, or at least had just one piece between the floor plate and this spacer. But at least currently it's now still two pieces. Okay, we're going to head out to the range, and we're actually going to put some rounds through the shield and see how it does. Okay folks, we've arrived at the range. What I'm going to do in a little bit here is start doing some shooting drills with the shield just to get an idea of how it's going to fire. When I start shooting, these are going to be the first shots that I've fired through this pistol ever. I just took it out of the box, loaded it up, put it in my holster, and came out to the range. I didn't clean it, I didn't lube it or anything like that, so we're going to see how it runs right out of the box. I have an assortment of ammunition with me. I've got some 124 grain Remington Golden Sabres. I've got some 115 grain American Eagle Full Metal Jacket rounds. I've got some Hornady 124 grain tap ammunition, and I've also got some Winchester Ranger SXT 124 grain. So I've got an assortment of 9mm ammunition we're going to be trying out. And we're going to see how this thing runs with several different brands of ammunition and several different bullet styles when we start shooting. A couple of observations before I get to that. One thing I noticed right off the bat is the shield definitely feels lighter on my hip, and I can also tell that it's thinner than the weapons that I normally carry. Now this might be a little bit more noticeable to me because I just got home from work a little while ago and took my duty gun belt off, which of course with the full-size M&P and all the ammunition and radios and everything is quite a bit heavier. But even so, as often as I carry this particular holster with my CS9 in, I can tell this feels a lot lighter, and this is fully loaded with the 8-round magazine in. So that's a couple of things right off the bat that I can tell with the shield that I would put in the plus column. Okay, when I start shooting, I'm going to start out at 7 yards, just like I've done in several other videos, and I'm just going to be doing a slow fire, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger squeeze drill where I'm trying to fire the most accurate shots that I can. As I noted earlier, the trigger in the shield is a little on the heavy side. I don't have a trigger scale, so I can't weigh it, but I do notice it feels a little heavier than my other M&Ps. So I want to get an idea of how it's going to shoot when I want to make a really precise, accurate shot. And the ammunition I'm going to be firing for that is going to be the Ranger 124 grain SXTs. When I get done with that, I'm going to do a little faster, more defensive / combat oriented shooting. And we're just going to give the shield a good run through and see how it's going to go. Okay, these are my first 5 shots out of the shield. This was shot number 1. I pulled it just a little bit low. My next 4 shots are all right here. And in fact, 3 shots are right here. And this is the 4th one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 over here. I would say getting essentially a 1 whole group out of those 4 consecutive shots is pretty darn good accuracy for a pistol right out of the box. I noticed the trigger being a little bit heavy. I have to concentrate on my trigger squeeze, but still, from 7 yards, even counting this one in here, I'm not too upset about the accuracy that I'm getting out of the shield. So we'll speed things up a little bit now and see how we do with a little bit faster combat style shooting. Okay, I'm pulling those shots a little bit low, and I managed to pull a few of them off to the left, or actually I probably pushed them off to the left. All in all, not bad. There's still a nice center chest group, but I'm pulling them a little bit low. I think I'm using a 6 o'clock hold on this, so when I shoot the next ones, I'm going to go to more of a center mass hold and see if this group comes up. I'm also going to switch ammunition. What I've been shooting so far has been the Ranger 124 grain SXT, and I'm going to go to the American Eagle 115 grain full metal jacket ammunition just to see how much of a difference that makes in the point of impact. Okay, raising my point of aim up to center mass definitely raised my point of impact with the bullets. Good center chest shots. Looks like I managed to pull still 2 more just outside this center chest circle. And I'm going to blame that on the trigger. That trigger is just heavy enough that when it breaks, it's a little difficult to keep it right where you want to in the middle of the target. Still, for defensive applications at 7 yards, none of these are bad shots. All right, this time we're just going to run a magazine through just as fast as we can to see how well the shield is going to cycle when you're running that maximum speed, just trying to cycle it as quickly as you can, just to see if it's going to choke. I'm still shooting the 115 grain American Eagle full metal jackets, and I might do this same drill a little bit later with the hollow points too, one of the various hollow points that I have, to see how it's going to do with those. Not bad. Ate them just as fast as I could pull the trigger. All 9 shots are still on the target. That was just point firing from 7 yards. I got one of them, looks like it pierced his ear, but other than that, the other 8 are pretty decent shots. Okay, I'm going to repeat that last drill, but this time I have a mixed magazine. I've got both Hornady 124 grain TAP ammunition and Remington 124 grain Golden Saber ammunition, both mix matched in the same magazine. So it's not 4 of one and 5 of the other, or vice versa. It's just all different intermixed in there. So I'm going to do it just again as quickly as I can cycle the trigger. I'm going to fire these, and when you look at these, you can see that the bullet profile is very different on these two. So we're going to see if this gives the shield any problems switching back and forth between these two very different bullets while firing or while cycling just as quickly as I can pull the trigger. That was not a malfunction. I fired 8 shots through, and I was thinking that I was counting the shots as I was shooting, and I thought 8 was the last one, and when the slide was still closed, I thought, oops, got one more, so I squeezed that off. Did not malfunction. That was a shooter malfunction, not a pistol malfunction. And this is my target so far. You can see after those really fast sets, I got a couple of them that I managed to get a little bit high. Nothing off the target profile, but the vast majority of those are well inside the target, even shooting that fast. So that heavy trigger is a handicap when you're trying to do really accurate shooting, but for fast defensive style shooting at a typical defensive type distance, it's really not that much of a hindrance. In fact, that reset on the trigger is pretty nice because I know when I come back out, as soon as I feel that, when I can start to pull the trigger again. Okay, the next test I'm going to do is really not a fair test for the shield, but it's something I enjoy doing. You may have seen this in one of my other videos. If you can see it, down there, I've got a bowling pin set up at 50 yards. With my full-size M&P, probably 6 out of 10 times, maybe 8 out of 10 times, I can knock the bowling pin off of there from 50 yards while I'm shooting it. I'm going to try it with the shield just to see how it goes. So far, I've been pretty impressed with this accuracy. You remember that one-hole group back when I first started? Now the one thing I did notice about that one hole group is it was just slightly off to the left. So when I aim, I'm actually going to aim just slightly off to the right of the bowling pin, and we'll see if we can take it off of there. Okay, it took 2 shots, got it with the second shot. The first shot I aimed dead on, and I could actually see where the bullet hit on the backstop, just very slightly off to the left, just by the left side of the bowling pin. Second time I favored the right just a little bit more. That one took it off. Okay folks, at this point I've got about 100 rounds through the Shield. You've seen some of the drills that I've done out here. So far functioning has been absolutely perfect. I've not had a single malfunction with it. I don't really have any reason to believe that I'm going to start having malfunction with it. It seems to be a very good, reliable firearm, just like everything else in the M&P line. Couple of thoughts after shooting it. The recoil is a little bit snappy. Even with the 9mm in the 19.5 ounce pistol, you get a little bit of zip from that recoil. It was actually a little bit more than I expected from a 9mm shooting out of this pistol. The grip is very comfortable, but as thin as it is with the single stack magazine, and without the ability to change out the grip inserts like you can with the full-size M&Ps, it feels a little small in my hand, and I know the reason is because I'm used to the big full-size M&P grip with the double stack magazine, and I also have the large grip insert in there because I like to have a good size grip to get a hold of. So with the Shield, it just feels a little small in my hand. Not bad. It's one of those things that's just a little bit different. I'm sure as I shoot it, it's going to become more and more comfortable to me. The sights on the Shield are very good. They are your classic 3-dot, 3 white dot, or 3-dot sights, 3 white dot sights on there. Give you a very good sight picture. Can't complain anything at all about the sights. The trigger is the thing on here that bothers me a little bit, just because it feels so heavy. It breaks clean and it resets nicely, but it is a little on the heavy side. Now I have noticed as I've been shooting it today, and like I said, I've only got about 100 rounds through it, it seems like the trigger is getting a little better. It seems like it's lightening a little bit. Probably those surfaces in there between the sear and the striker where they come together are wearing just a little bit and start to smooth that out some. And I can feel that in the trigger. I can feel it getting a little bit better as time goes by. Hopefully another 500,000 rounds through here, it gets even better yet. But right now the trigger still does feel just a little bit heavy. The magazines function, like I said before, flawlessly. No problem with that. The safety over here has not been a problem at all. I haven't even really given it any thought as I've been shooting today. When I carry this, and I've mentioned this before, I'm just going to carry it with the safety off. It'll be the exact same condition as my full-size M&P and my M&P compact. When I carry them, I'll carry the Shield the same exact way. So I'm not really concerned at all about the safety. My overall impressions of the Shield are very favorable. I think it's a good defensive firearm. I think it's going to be a good replacement for my CS9. But I got to tell you, after all the years that I've carried that little pistol, it's going to take some time to get used to carrying the Shield, even though I carry the full-size M&P every day at work. Still, I like the consistent trigger. I like not having to transition between the long double action pull and then back to the short single action pull like I do on the CS9. So I accomplished what I wanted to when I set out as far as purchasing the Shield goes. Again, my impressions are very favorable. I think if you're considering one of these, take a good close look at it. If you can get out and shoot one, do some shooting with it, and see how it's going to feel to you. I'm happy with it, and I don't think that there's going to be anything that's going to happen that's going to change my mind as I shoot it more and more. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informational and maybe even a little bit entertaining. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me to know what you folks like to watch. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I've got a lot of videos like this covering a lot of different firearms that hopefully you'll also enjoy watching. Other than that, y'all have a good day and good shooting.